Catherine Fulton from our board, I think this is a great one to actually wrap up with.
All right.
Fundamentally, if you are successful and this whole thing is working, how is the world going to be different 10 years from now?
I love the optimism that there'll be any discernible difference in only 10 years. That's awesome.
Let's say 100 years.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know. The investment thesis for this, raising money for this, is really interesting because I can tell you what will happen, but I simply can't tell you when. Right now, we are on track to open the exchange soon. We'll be able to solicit companies. We have some people that are, even in the near term, maybe next year, will go public on the exchange. But there's this concept called the IPO window. Some of you will know, the idea that capital markets are open for IPOs for certain amounts of time and then they close. So we're one catastrophically bad tweet away from the markets crashing any day, right? So you wake up in the morning, you don't know what's going to be. So we have to be prepared for the possibility that this happens right away and the movement is catalyzed and we get going, or that we live through a long winter before we can make the change happen. So I don't know when. I just don't know when. But here's what I can say. Here's my hope. It's not even really about LTSE and our reforms. Of course, I believe that companies, this next generation of companies, deserve to have a governance model that really aligns incentives and interests, that employees deserve to work under humane working conditions where they can believe the promises that their own companies make to them, let alone the promises that they have to represent to customers. I believe that the investors, the long-term investors, the pension funds, the people who are investing for retirement, the people who represent the economic interests of ordinary people, they should be able to participate in growth companies. So I believe all that is good and can happen. But that's not really what's at stake here to me. So just if you let me kind of think bigger for a second. My hope is that if this works, it will inspire other people to reinvent the rest of our civic fabric. The institutions that govern our lives in democratic countries have been decaying and are practically decrepit, partially from misuse, but partially from people actively hacking away at the foundations. And then being like, hey, we could use that for firewood, and look, nothing fell over today, so I guess it was fine. And I don't think this is too controversial anymore. Look around. We do not have the institutions that are fit to purpose for the 21st century, but we also can't go back. Our grandparents worked out a lot of these solutions the hard way, and I pray that we don't have to go through what they went through to build the next set of these institutions, partly because we have the lessons that we could learn from the sacrifices that they made. But also, we can't just copy-paste what they did because the world has actually changed a lot in 3 generations. So we have to build new civic infrastructure, new, I was talking to Stuart about maintenance, new maintainable institutions that make sense for the 21st century. It's not just bridges and dams whose infrastructure has decayed, but every aspect of our civil society. And I'm talking about schools and hospitals and newspapers and political parties and government agencies and defense departments, and everything has to be reinvented. And the lesson, I think, of the last 10 years especially is that if we allow technology to just disrupt things and just trust that the market will sort it out, things will be disrupted and they will be replaced with things that are new, but we may not like the consequences of that change, because if we don't have entrepreneurs with the vision, not just to build a commercially viable product or a useful piece of technology, but they don't have the vision to say there are civic values at stake and they need to be baked into the fabric of what I'm building from the beginning, if we don't make those choices consciously, we will get the results that we deserve unconsciously. So my hope is that LTSE is successful in its own right, but more importantly, that it will inspire many people who are listening and watching right now to say, wait a minute, if it's just a form, what's my version of just a form, right? Why do we have to send kids to school where everybody learns the same thing at the same time every day? Is that necessary? Why do we have to build hospitals? Why do we have to build political parties this way? Why do we have to do journalism? Everything that matters that governs our liberal democracies, to take a fresh look and say, is there a humane, scientific, customer-centric 21st century version of that available? And so I hope if this works, it will inspire many copycats. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.